Then we go up into New York State where we got some snow. And people in upstate New York got to clear out from this latest round of snow. They're going to be digging a while. Meteorologist Mike Seidel's out there in Springville, New York, about 40 miles from the shores of Lake Erie.
Seidel, you look like you're in the middle of a snow globe this morning. How much snow you got in the ground?
At least a foot and counting, Jim and Jan. And look at the mailbox. The plows have done a great job out here, but it's still, snow-packed, snow-covered roadways as the rush hour gets underway. People heading up 129 into Buffalo. You can see how deep the snow is. Now, again, this is not the actual snowfall because it's been thrown back, but I think this is a pretty healthy pile for November. Let's see if I can get to the top of this. Wow. I don't know if I've been on a pile this big before the 1st of December. So this is not all from this storm. They've had a lot of snow. We talked about Perrysburg getting a lot of snow. So far this season, they've had over 45 inches through 11 o'clock last night, probably now over 50. Last year, they had 269.7 inches of snow. 269.7. What makes this place special? The Chautauqua Ridge. It's elevated above the lake. Where we are now, we're at about 1,300 feet and change, 1,329. We're about 750 feet above the surface of Lake Erie. So you get the lift, the orographic lift, you squeeze out the moisture. And this morning, we're also getting the wind chills in the mid-teens, temperature right now 28. Now, we're going to get some help today with the atmosphere once we get daylight. And in Buffalo, look at the snowfall totals, about an inch or so. Because of where you are, you sit lower, and the wind direction. Up here, we're expecting another 3 to 5 inches of snow on top of what we've seen. So some areas will probably, like Perrysburg, crack 20 inches of snow since yesterday morning. That's pretty healthy. Nothing like they had 4 years ago this month, almost 4 years to the date. Last week, Jim, remember when they had 88 inches of snow in the South Towns. So this is just kind of an average day for them here in Springville, New York. Jim?
So, Seidel, you're not out of breath climbing that little snow pile, are you?
A little bit. Yeah, well, you know why I'm out of breath?
Why, Mike?
I'm old and I'm tired.
No,
that's
man,
why.
Not you.
Just simply old and tired.
You're a kid at heart, and that's all that matters. All right, Seidel, we love you, man. Let's talk about what we got going on here. Let's find out how enhanced as we go to Mike Seidel. So, Seidel, how far are you, first of all, from Perrysburg?
Well, gosh, we're about a 20-minute drive. It's not that far. They're down to our southwest, but they're up here on the ridge, and again, that makes all the difference in the world. Also, what makes a difference, it's a dry, powdery snow, so we're not worried about trees and power lines. Look at this evergreen, Jim. You can just shake it right off, and you'll notice that if this was a wet, heavy snow, it would be leaning, but it's pretty vertical, but there's a lot of snow up there. Just shake it off. I had to do that to my Deodora cedars, Jim, last December in Atlanta because they were bending down, almost had some damage. I want to show you, this is the drive-through at Duncan. America runs on Duncan. But look at this drift out here. Look at this. This is from the snow that's fallen over a foot. My God, I'm going to lose. Look at this drift. This is about a 3.5-foot drift. Wow. Look at the radar. Jim mentioned the benefits of elevation. The Chautauqua Ridge, which lines up parallel to Lake Erie, just inland, the Erie elevation, it's about 750 feet. We're up here at about 1,329, so we're about 750 feet or so, 700 feet above the lake level. So the area gets lifted, and you squeeze out the moisture, and look at all the powder out here. Boy, this is just pure powder. At 28 degrees. Traffic is moving, but I've noticed, Jim and Jen, the visibility's come down again. I think we're down to moderate. I think we're down to about a half-mile moderate. This is as hard as it snowed since yesterday when we got here from Iowa. So a pretty healthy band here up on the ridge, Jen, and it's still adding up, and it's still pretty deep. And Oh, my gosh. You can just sit down on the job.
You should just sit down and build yourself a little igloo, take a little break until we come back to you. Mike Seidel, we need to get you some snowshoes, as Jim Cantori just pointed out, so you can stay on top of the snow. All right, it's going to take some time for people in the Northeast to dig out from this latest round of lake effect snow. It's been adding up through the overnight. Meteorologist Mike Seidel is bringing us the live reports from Springville, New York. Mike, I wonder how they got the name Springville, because there's nothing springy about the scene you have right now.
It's kind of an oxymoron, or in my case, just a moron. But, yeah, a lot of folks have asked me, and I haven't done the research. You know, I'm going to do some research and get back to you on that. But, yes, it's not very springy today. In fact, we're about 4 months from spring. And we're 3.5 weeks from the first day of winter, the solstice. And look at the snow that's added up out here in Springville. Again, keep in mind, we're about 750 feet above the lake, and that orographic lift always helps out. This is where we've had the most snow. Perrysburg, 28.2. The Boston Hills, inland from Hamburg, 10 to 11 inches. The Buffalo Airport, as of about an hour ago, has picked up 5.9 inches since yesterday morning. So it really makes a difference when you get up into this elevation. 5.9 in Buffalo, Perrysburg, 28 plus inches of snow. They've had 57.7 for the season, and so this is a very snowy November. You know, you think about 4 years ago, very localized in the south towns with 88 inches, but the airport only had a couple feet. That's where I was hunkered down. But look at the snow and the blowing snow out here, out off 219, the main 4-lane route, north and south. Takes you up to Buffalo down towards Jamestown. By the way, east of Jamestown now, they're up to just about 18 inches of snow. 29 degrees, the wind chill in the mid-teens. Snow's going to wind down this afternoon. We're looking for 3 to 5 more in this area, up on the hills and the ridges, and then even less in Buffalo, an inch or 2 in Buffalo. The winter storm warning expires at 6 p.m. The winds will back off, and the snow will diminish in intensity and then kind of back off and end tomorrow morning. And then the concern is this weekend, big warm up here. The snow's going to melt. The question is, how warm does it get? And even more importantly, Jim and Jen, how much rain, how much Gulf moisture works up here in upstate New York? Something we usually think about, Jim, in the spring in Springville, but not in late November. But we'll watch that for you. It definitely is going to be rain here, not snow. There's no question that it's going to rain here this weekend. It's not a rain-snow line situation this far east.
And it's going to warm up, too, so that's going to melt some of that snow, no question about it. Well, it's still yet to be determined, though, I think, you know, who gets how much, you know, can the snowpack handle this? Because it is a light, fluffy snow. Let's talk about this. Mike's in a great area this morning.
Just south of Buffalo, that's where we find our very own Mike Seidel in Springville. Lake effect snow, of course, cranking up here, the enhancement of that snow, dumping some of the worst snow totals of the early season on western New York. And meteorologist Mike Seidel, as we mentioned, they're in Springville, about 35 miles south of Buffalo. And Mike, yeah, it's pretty amazing that we've seen so much snow in some of these areas, and we haven't even really kicked into high gear when it comes to winter.
Yes, indeed, and this is early, really. We just talked to a local. This is unusual to see this much snow before the 1st of December. It's not unusual to get some lake effect, but you think about Perrysburg. Lori Dankert has measured 57.7 inches as of 7 a.m., and she's had inches since then. So I would assume over 5 feet of snow so far this month. That is not typical, even in a spot that can average, 150 to 200 inches. Last year, she had 270 inches of snow. Thankfully, most of it has been powder, so this evergreen is not leaning. Trees are not leaning on power lines because we've had winds gusting 25 to 30. This is a dry, powdery snow, and you can shake it off, and it comes down real easy. See, just like that. It was a heavy, wet snow, wouldn't come off as easy, and the tree would be down. You'd run the risk of power outages. Watch the roadways, snow-packed, snow-covered. This has not been treated. It's been plowed, but it's packed down. But this is what I want to show you. We've had about 20 inches of snow here in Springville. But you throw in the wind, and you've got the building here. America runs on Duncan, and the way the wind whips around the building, you get drifting around solid objects. I want to show you this drift here. Look at that. That's about 5.5 feet. That's a pretty hefty drift, and that's out of less than 2 feet of snow. So you can see what happens when you have wind and powdery snow. Boy, it's like powdered sugar when you throw it up. So that is a concern, too. But the snow's going to be winding down this afternoon. Up here on the ridge is where we expect several more inches. And then Thursday and Friday, really uneventful weather here in western New York State. But, Alex, the real threat is this weekend because we're going to have so much warm air with that storm heading up through the Midwest and plains. It's going to be rain in the east and rain on the snowpack. The question is right now, how much rain do we get on this snowpack? And this is a very healthy snowpack for this time of the year. Believe me, I've been out covering snow for many, many years, and to see a drift like this in late November, I mean, look at how tall this drift is. So there you go, Alex. A lot of snow, a lot of winter to come, and we're not officially even into winter. That's another 3.5 weeks away.
Yeah, pretty crazy
Alex?
to think about what maybe we may be in store for. Thanks, Mike. We'll be checking back with you. Meanwhile, what's